So hello all, I want to welcome you to Beauty Superstars Talk. It's your backstage pass to experts in beauty. And we are here today to talk about something super important. I don't know if you've ever felt like you wanted to make changes with your business, you wanted to raise your prices, but it was like, woo, my clients are going to have a fit, they're going to leave. There's this level of fear and frustration, and so many people experience it. And so today we are going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about it with one of my graduates from the Luxury Business Blueprint. So I'm always super excited to have my grads in here because it's like we had such a great experience through the process. And her name is Kim Brackett, and I'm gonna just briefly introduce myself, and then we're gonna talk with her. So hi, Kim, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my name is Miki Wright. I'm a pricing strategist and business funding expert, and I really help businesses to be able to put in place the tools, the services, the training that they need to be able to thrive in any economy. And so I am excited because we're going to talk about this topic around raising your prices and what that can look like and what it can do in terms of transforming not only your business, but your life. So welcome, Kim.
Hi. Thank
Hi.
you.
I'm so
Thank you
glad
for
you're
having
here.
me.
Yeah, so tell us what you do on a daily basis, where you're from, and um, a little bit about who you are and kind of what brings you to this conversation today.
Okay. Well, I've been a hairstylist in lots of different capacities, from owning to managing to booth rental now. And I've been in it for 43 years.
Yay.
And yeah, and I still love it. Um, I I don't I don't hate going to work. I don't, I always look forward to it.
Right.
But I wish that, when I was in school and everything, that I was taught more of the business part of it, so coming to you is when I decided that I needed to understand raising my prices and the fear behind why it just sent me into a panic every time I knew I needed to make that change and how to do it.
Wow.
So it was just kind of like, for me, I think as I've gotten older and I've been in this business longer, it's more wanting to know how to do it, where I feel like I'm getting what I deserve, and not, you know, people giving me money as like a favor, like, oh, here, you did a great job here. You know what I mean? Kind of trying to feel about my job like other people feel, like I got a raise, or I'm taking some time off, or, those kind of things. So
Hmm.
it was a long learning thing for me.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely get what you're saying, and I want to hear a little bit more. I don't know if anyone else wants to hear a little bit more as far as like what was that panic like for you? Like that's a pretty strong word, when you talk about
It was twofold. It was knowing that and feeling that I deserved to raise my prices.
right.
The fear was knowing that I was going to have a lot of people question it or comment on it, or not even question it, just comment and say, like, oh, you're raising your prices. And feeling like, knowing that I would always go into this justifiable, justifying my reason, which made me crazy, because I felt like I shouldn't have to justify my reasons.
Right.
And feeling like, so that was a whole thing for me. It was like feeling like I should raise my prices, that I'm worth raising my prices, but at the same time, that whole justifying thing fell back into, I'm not worthy. So
Mm,
it was so much more. And I learned this too with you. It was just so much more than just raising a price. It was,
right.
and it locked into me emotionally, as far as what I felt like as a person, as a stylist. Like, it really tested my security in myself and my self-worth. So I think that's where the fear all the time came up, because I was like, okay, I know I'm going to go through this, and I know it's going to make me feel not worthy.
Mm,
So how do I do this and feel worthy still?
yeah. Yeah. So that is a huge question. And I think a lot of people can identify with it.
Mhm.
And so, you and I met, I think, through Elaine Travis,
Yeah.
and I was on her platform, and I spoke about pricing. And what was it that kind of made you think that maybe this was a solution for you? What I
I
offered.
think because the first time I heard you speak and just I saw some of your advertisements coming through Facebook, and I was just like, this is exactly what I need. I need to, and I need to know like from A to Z, like how to do it, why, like how to justify it with myself, with other people. And I needed to know from somebody because I always looked at things about raising prices. I tried to read everything that came up. And sometimes the teacher, not that they weren't good, but I just didn't connect with me, whether it was, too much of a mathematical thing where I was just like, oh, forget that. Do you know what I mean? And when I first, heard you, I was like, oh, I think I felt like a connection right away. Like she's going to teach the way I learn. And that was exactly it. And I just decided, I said to my husband one day, I'm taking that class. I said, I'm making the investment and I'm taking it because I'm interested in it and I want to know how to do this with with confidence.
Right, right. Yeah, so that is huge. Because I know I was actually, preparing for our talk today and thinking about there was a time when you said something like, like there's no spreadsheets required in this. And it's like it's not about the spreadsheets. It's like we do, work with the numbers, but it's like we don't have to get so technical that we blow
Exactly.
our artistic minds.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And even the paperwork that I do that I still use from your class still works with me. It's still like I am a list person, but to see things written out like this was my week, this is
Right.
what it's compared to last week, this was my month compared to last month, was stuff I was kind of doing on my own, but not so much in like the forms that you gave us. And
Hmm.
I'm like, I live by those. There has not been one day
Hmm.
since I've taken your class that I did not do that or keep up with it. It's kind of my record to myself. I
Right.
love that part of it.
Right. Okay. Well, that's awesome because I know that's the like, we talk about business, I'm a former hairstylist, and so it's like I get, we're artists first, we're kind of artistic creatures. And a lot of times things like math and numbers and the business side, it's definitely not the sexy side of,
Yeah. Yeah.
industry. It's not like whipping up a great hairstyle or doing a, phenomenal cut. And so we resist it sometimes and don't do it. And it
Mhm.
really is to our detriment. So what changes have you seen since kind of embracing these tools? Like you said, you were kind of doing it before, but what?
Well, I have to say too, I just thought about it before I forget. Also taking your class and like being connected with you, you were like, you taught me a lot, but you were also like a therapist. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? So there are still things every day that I think like, okay, what do we talk about in class? And like one of the biggest things I remember saying to you is like, I'm only gonna raise my prices like, a few dollars. And you're like, Kim, that's like 1990. You know what I mean? And then I but I said like I was going to raise my prices 10%, which didn't seem like much. And by the time I was end of the class, I had raised them 20% and felt
Mhm.
okay with it. You know what I mean? And then I remember you saying to me, like, what is your biggest fear? And I said that I'll lose all my clients. And this goes in my head every day. Well, Kim, do you know anybody that's lost all their clients? And I was like, no. It's that fear of what if that never happens that you live on.
Mhm. Yeah.
So those were profound things for me with you.
Yeah. And I think that was really key to it's like that is it's such a limiting belief, and it's so universal that it stops so many people. And so sometimes, when I'm talking about pricing, when I'm talking to different people, it's like, oh, well, if someone's been in the business for a long time, then they should know they should raise their prices. Or if
Mhm.
someone has a certain level of experience, it's like, that's what they stand on. It's like they've got all this great experience. And I know, you are, have a long time in the industry, have great, you do great work, great experience and all of that. And yet there's this piece, to the puzzle that keeps you from, kind of, as I say, kind of charging what you're worth. which, for me is a little bit double edged because your worth is intrinsic, it's like you were
Mhm, mhm.
worthy, and it's not about you per se, but about what you bring, the value that you're bringing to the marketplace.
But it also, for me with this has been like just an ongoing, like it's not just like, oh, I took Mickey's class. This is what I learned. I'm done. You know what I mean? Like I'm done. And to me, it's almost, I have to work on that every day. So every day, like even just raising my prices recently, and I had texted you and said, like, well, I'm considering, I have a couple clients, really nice ladies that I don't have to do that much to their hair. And should I just lock them in at my old price so that I don't, it was almost like I had to, and you couldn't get back to me right away, but it was so cathartic to me to write it out to you. And I
Mhm.
kept saying, I know I'm falling back into my old behavior, but I'm nervous. And then for you to come back and say, like, you're definitely falling back into your old behavior, it was real help just to go through it without even getting the answer from you right away, because I had already decided by the time you got your answer and had already seen the customer who I considered giving the break to. So
Mhm.
it had come and gone by the time you and I got together. And I had already made my own decision that I can't go back. I can't do that. That's what I took her class for. That's where I'm going to get myself back into trouble.
Right, right.
So it is a
That,
constant work.
yeah, it's powerful. And I want to just say on with the course, because it's kind of like not a course.
Right. Right.
With the course, it is like exceptional. It's designed to take about 6 weeks for you to do. Some people do it in about 4, some may take a little bit longer, but it's basically 6 weeks. And, when you took it, it's like we did it completely live. It's like I have it now as an online course where people can take it with themselves, but also have some group accountability and support
Mhm,
along the way with that. But seeing the transformations from week 1 to week 6 is mind blowing.
mhm.
For
Yeah.
me, and I've seen it over and over again where it's like this is a different person than with the person that was sitting here week 1.
Mhm.
And that is like phenomenal that it happened so quickly. And
Yes.
so you'll have to share your experience with that part of it. But the other part of it is like, okay, you've made this transition in these 6 weeks. It's real, but you've had X number of years leading up to that was like the same thinking, and then you have the new thinking. So it's like it's impossible for the new thinking to just come up and be, kind of from
Right.
drawn out.
Right.
It's like it's set up so that you can revisit it and so that you can make sure that you're staying in that conversation. I have, some support things like the masterminds and that type of thing to keep people in those conversations and on track with what they're doing, because what they're doing is actually producing the results that they want. So,
Yeah, and I really appreciated that, since taking the class, that you've stayed connected on and off, reaching out to me. So I felt comfortable enough to say, like, okay, Mickey, like, I know I took this class like last year or whatever, but this is what, like, I feel so thankful that you're still willing to like help me, and give me advice with that and just like, be my sounding board again. So that's meant a lot too.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know it's a journey. It's a
Hmm.
journey, and the transition, like I said, happens pretty quickly. But it's not like a one-time cure-all,
No.
magic wand kind of thing. It's like our minds are tricky and our minds want to keep us safe.
Yes.
That's kind of their job, is to keep us, so any idea we come up with, your mind is like, oh, you might not want to do that because, there's
Yeah.
danger.
Hmm.
I think it's the movie Inside Out that kind of shows so much of that so well. I think it's a Disney cartoon type of movie, but it has a lot of power in it. But tell us what that kind of, well, tell us what your life was like before. You told us a little bit, but what was your kind of working life like before you joined the course?
Well, I had made a lot of changes because COVID, we were
Yeah.
stuck in the house for so long. And that's where I started to find like a lot of classes like Elaine Travis and then all these other connections. And I started doing a lot during COVID time. And I decided to like restructure everything during COVID time. Like I decided to stop doing free hair discounted hair, other than my mother, my daughters, you know what I mean? But I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, I do this monthly, and there's days where I'm busy all day, a 10-hour day, and I've done 3 discounted or free people. So that was a huge thing. And it is funny because it took me a lot of nerve to write it out and text and get to everybody and say, like, I've appreciated you so much, but from now on, you know, when we come back from COVID, I will no longer be doing free or discounted hair. I've appreciated you all this time, and, you know, kind of just went in that direction with it,
Mhm.
which was made me so proud of myself. Like, I'm just like, I was just like, I did it. Like, and the, you know, the world didn't fall apart. And even I thought, okay, like, somebody might leave me, but what are their choices? I'm either going to stay with Kim and now pay her what she deserves, or I'm going to go pay somebody else. And the
Right.
way I felt was like, well, if you go pay somebody else, then I guess it wasn't me who you really liked my talent. You liked my price.
Mhm.
Free. So that was a big thing there. And then just trying to learn, you know, I've been booth renting probably for 10 years now, which has been for me great, because I went from owning, then back to commission, and then to booth renting. And what I didn't like about owning is not, like, booth renting is everything I like without managing people. Does that make sense? I only have to manage myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the business part of that didn't scare me as much as when I owned. So I just liked recalibrating everything for myself and trying to figure out, like, this is my job. I'm not doing this as a hobby. I'm not like, you know, you come in and I give you a new haircut and it's like, oh, you know, that was great for her. That was a fun time. It's kind of like I really had to separate that this is a job. This is my livelihood. This is where I've gotten gypped so many times, you know.
Right.
And I started thinking of things like free hair, you know, all these people who come in on their 4 and 5 times, you know, they're very consistent, 4 and 5 weeks for a hair color or whatever, and it's free. Maybe I would have them give me $25 thinking that covered my cost, you know, product cost. And then I started thinking to myself, this is like every 5 weeks when they come to me, handing them over $100, $125, $135, whatever gift. And then I was like, man, like, and then I thought, how many gifts do they give me during the year? Like, you know, and I just was really trying to, as much as I loved hairdressing, I think I was getting worn down with the part of not charging what I felt like I was worth, you know, which I think is a huge thing in our industry. I think so many hairdressers, I have friends who have not raised their prices. We started booth renting at the same time. They're in a different shop, and they have not raised their prices a penny in 11 years. And one of them is like my very good friend. And I keep saying to her, you're basically working for free, like, by this point.
Mhm.
But you can't teach somebody or help somebody. Like, I can't make her feel that need. She's just like, oh no, everybody would leave me, you know? And I guess what I've come to find out is, yes, some people will leave you, but it opens the door for people who will come in at your new price. Or people might leave you, but you're going to make maybe a little bit more money in less hours during the day, you
Say that
know?
one again.
And there's a lot,
Say that one again.
where um, you may lose people and your prices will go up, but you will do less people in a day and make the same, if not more money. And I think that was one of my biggest faults, is like, you start thinking in hairdressing until you're taught a different way. It's quantity. The more people you do, the better. Right. So if that means you are all out and flat for, you know, 3, 4, your whole week, staying late, getting up early, working through lunch, all of that, it's like, yeah, I've got, like, you know, 300 customers, you know. And then with your course and stuff, started to realize, like, wow, wait a minute. It can be lucrative without quantity. And that was huge for me to learn that. You know what I mean? Why keep your prices lower so that you can just keep turning over and over and over and over people? You know, I'd rather have a really solid core people, clientele, and know that I'm getting paid what I deserve.
Mhm.
So that was huge for me.
Yeah, yeah. It's like all of those points are like so like each one is just like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah,
But those are huge pieces, to grab onto and to really start to live and embody. And yeah, I think the if you will, old school model was, it's like the more you do, it's like you win. It's like,
yeah.
oh, you got 300 clients. It's like I've got 500 clients.
Yeah, and except if you're getting what you deserve, you have just as much money, but you're on the beach while they're still doing the quantity of clients.
Right,
You
right.
know?
Exactly, exactly. And so, yeah, the whole kill yourself model, the whole,
Yes,
get in at sun up and work until you don't see any more people and then go home. It's very, it's not sustainable for most people. It's like a lot of us did a lot, throughout the years, but particularly after COVID, I think there's been so many shifts, that physically people aren't able to do it. Emotionally, people aren't able to take on, seeing so many clients for the most part, and some people,
exactly.
like you say, didn't revamp and went kind of back into their the way they had been doing business. But we see a lot more burnout, we see a lot more frustration. And of course, there's a lot of venting and that type of thing on social media, but definitely there is a better way, not only a different way, but a better way to run
Yes.
our businesses and, and actually command the respect that we deserve and to have a life,
Hmm. Hmm.
a life and kind of it's about designing the lifestyle that you want versus just I gotta go to work. I can't take a vacation because I've got to go to work. And,
Exactly.
it's like I've got clients. It's like I can't afford it, and all of these different things that we don't put together like a plan for. Yeah. So,
I think
yeah.
I think also like for me, I saw it where, like I said, I keep track of it all, like you taught us.
Hmm.
And last year, I just wrote this down quick the other night. I My income for the year was $7,200 more than the year before. But during last year, I took 20 days off for vacation, and
Wow.
a lot of, I think, every quarter I had, other than the 20, on top of that, every quarter it worked out where I had either 2 to 7 days off, just because the way my scheduling worked. And so that was cool to see. Like, I had like this chunk of time off. Some weeks I only had to work, instead of my 3 days, I had to work 2 days. And sometimes that would make me nervous because I was like, oh, I'm slowing down. But because I have my paperwork and I see, like, no, I did less people this month, but it kept my averages the same, if not more.
Right.
So I was like, wow, that's like really cool. And that's when talk to somebody or see something online where somebody's like, I'm slow and I'm nervous. And I'm like, keep track of your stuff, because when you can look back and say, like, well, right now it's slow, but in the quarter, it all pans out.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
that's been a huge help for me that you taught me.
Yeah, yeah, that's huge. It's like I hope everybody hearing this is like, okay, she made what did you say, $7,500 more than you had made the previous year, but
Yeah.
you had 20 days off on vacation,
Hmm.
which is like 20. Like, have some of you guys had 20 days off on vacation like your whole career? You know,
Yeah.
like 20 days in that year, plus, like you say, an extra 5 to 7 days that have been off in addition to the 20 days vacation. So that's phenomenal in my book because you have the time, you have the energy, you have the money to enjoy life the way that you want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I appreciate you telling us like what it was like before, and you've told us a little bit as far as what it's like after, but what was it like going through the actual course?
Oh, I loved it. I
Okay.
loved everything about it. Like, I was a little nervous just because, Zoom, and I'm like kind of was new to that. And like, being able to, I'm like, oh, we're going to be working, like, I'm going to have to talk and all that kind of stuff. But each course I was like really looked forward to it every time we met,
Mhm.
because it just did more than, like, it was just more than learning how to do these things. It really helped me with my self-worth in a lot of different ways. It was, emotional pricing. It was, why do we do this? What does it mean? And those were the things I think you can learn how to raise your prices and maybe bite the bullet and say like, oh, I'm going to do it this time, but I don't know if I can do it again. Or you can be like, okay, the emotional part is what helped me through it, not just the physical part of doing it, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
That spoke to me a lot about just why do we accept less? Why do we emotionally discount? Why do we, think we have to over explain when we make a decision to raise a price or to have a raise ourselves? What other profession ever makes you feel like I need you to tell me, like, in the restaurant, why my steak is more this month than last month? We never asked that question. And then the things that you had us do about looking at different type models of businesses and how they come across. Like I loved it. I loved the course. I liked it because I had interaction with other people taking it. So it was
Mhm.
kind of cool to go 6 weeks with them and to kind of see some of their changes. And I learned a lot from them also, like different things that they said. You know, I I don't know, I just loved it.
Okay. Yeah, and it's set up in modules. And so,
Yep.
we do a module and then we would meet about that particular module. And it's a lot of it is kind of elevating, especially the beginning, kind of elevating your thinking. Like we've been thinking in this circle for so long. So how do we start to think like, oh, there's a circle that's up here somewhere that we
Mhm.
could choose to think from. So
Well, and
what?
the affirmations that you had us do, like,
Uh-huh.
where you said, okay, practice these every day. So like I've had it on my nightstand and like, I read through them and you say them. And at first you're kind of like, I can remember the first time doing them, like, I charged, $1,200 for a haircut. Remember you had to say something like that in our head. And I'm like, this in my head, I'm like, that old thing. It's like, this is never going to happen. But you're like, still say it, still say it. But
Uh-huh.
somehow saying those affirmations, even if you don't do exactly like if I, don't get to a $1,200 haircut,
Right.
somehow changed how I felt. Like it was weird. It was like, okay, this may not be my scenario at this point or whatever, but just saying those affirmations over and over and over, I don't even can't explain like how it fixed my head.
Yeah, yeah. They're very powerful. And
Yeah.
like you say, it's like you don't believe it at first. And it's like, and it's not just, having you say it in your head, but say it out loud. Like, what are your lips able to actually say
Hmm.
from your mouth? It's like that's the challenge we have. Like, the changing your price part is like the number. It's
Right.
like I did a class yesterday where I said, you guys want a really quick way to change your prices? And everybody's like, yeah. And then I was like, okay, how much do you charge for this? And so they said $75 for maybe a blowout or something like that. And so I said, okay, quick and easy way to change your prices, just add a zero to the end. And if you could have seen the faces in that room, there was not a sound. It was just like, what? She's not serious, right? It's like, but changing the number is really literally that easy.
Yeah.
It's the part that makes your eye pop out of your head and your your brain go, what? It's like I can't charge that. That's the part we have to work on to get you to the point where you can actually feel very comfortable and confident with your pricing.
I think, and then how we would break off and we would talk in groups, and go
Mhm.
through different scenarios. And so my problem was too, is like I said, always having to face people who were going to push back about raising prices. I was just like, "Ugh, I just don't want to." So one of the things, we talked about is, putting a sign up where they see it, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, oh, easy, because I get, they see it. And then you said, no, Kim, you have to have the discussion with them too. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Like, they'll just read it. Like, why am I going to discuss it with them too? But I made myself do it. Even this last time, I would say to people, oh, I don't know if you noticed, but next time, I point to my little sign, next
Uh-huh.
time these will be the prices or whatever. It kind of makes sense because then it's like, you catch everybody and they're like, oh, well, I never saw the sign. And
Uh-huh.
then, what was the other thing? We talked about having a script,
Mhm.
and that has been like like huge for me. Like I wrote it down. I have it in the back room where I do color so that when I'm coming out and I'm like, or before I see a client, I'm like, I look at the things I'm going to say. And it's true, like I just stopped answering and I would just repeat the script. Like,
Mhm.
I hear you. I know, I know this isn't, whatever. I respect you. If you have to make another choice, I respect that, and it really stopped that whole, like, having to confirm to them why I'm doing what I'm doing,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know? So those kind of things really helped me.
Yeah, we don't need to justify our prices. We shouldn't justify our prices. It's like we should, and one of the things like you talked about the script, it's like most people turn it into like a long diatribe where people it's
You
like,
know,
okay, well, I'm gonna have this and this is gonna happen and this is why it's gonna happen and this is where it's gonna happen and this is when it's gonna happen and da 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 and the client's like, did she just say she was raising her prices or what? It's like they don't even know
mhm,
what we're talking about because we're so in our head about, well, I've got to explain this and I've got to, so it's like, yeah, keep it short, simple, to the point so
yeah.
that people know what's going on and you have to tell us about the pushback because, there are a lot of people out there, I would say, who in essence are being held hostage by their clients.
Oh, absolutely.
And what does that mean to you, like, when I kinda say that phrase?
Well, because I have those clients that have done that to me that maybe, in particular, a person that I have done her hair since I was in hairdressing school. I used to go to her house. So for 40, and I'd say 30 years, I probably went to her house, did her hair. She wasn't color or anything, just a cut.
Mhm,
Um, and then when I started booth renting, it was very close to where she lives. And I said, I'd appreciate if you can come to the shop now. So then she started getting color, but then she would just hand me money, not say how much is it and is that enough? And because it was way before I got, into your class, I would be like, okay. She was dictating how much she handed me. So
mhm,
finally, when I said no more, and she was one of the people, she pushes back because she'll say, my hair's so thin, it's so short, it's not even worth that much money. And I can joke with her a little bit. So part of it is like, well, you're not paying me for what I take off. It's like to know how much to leave on your head. Like,
right,
that I know to leave that there,
right.
and finally, but I had to a couple times get more firm with her because I said, it was disrespectful. And I was just like, I said to her, I know this is difficult. I said, I know you've come to me for so long and I appreciate that. But if you decide that you want to go somewhere else, it's okay. Because I'm not gonna, I'm past the point of bartering prices. Do you know what I mean? It's not negotiable anymore. And so she was like, what do you mean? I'm always gonna come to you. And then I was like, I wanted to say, I wish I had the nerve to say, then stop what you're doing,
Mhm,
because you may not keep coming to me because I might get rid of you. Like,
right,
so
yeah,
those people will push back. And I did have one lady this time, since my prices just changed. And when she first saw my sign last month or whatever, she said, well, what justifies you in raising your prices like that? And that wasn't on my script.
mhm, mhm,
So I kind of didn't want to really get into it a lot with her, but I said, I felt like I was justified in saying, I've been doing this for 43 years. I
mhm,
said, and if you really want to know, I said, my prices, I didn't say what it was. I said, my prices when I started 43 years ago and what they are now, this is with haircuts. I said, if you want to average it out, I said, I have increased my price 83 cents a year in these 40. That's how ridiculous it is. I mean,
okay,
no, I'm saying, so in other words, you think, wow, that's a big jump to go from here to here,
right,
$5. But who else works in these kind of businesses in this kind of job and never gets a raise? I'm the person who gives me a raise. I'm my boss.
right,
And then
mhm,
she kind of like, she's like, oh, well, I appreciate what you do. And I think people just don't get it. Like they just don't think that we have the right to do that
mhm,
until they're really good clients. And some people will say to me, like, oh my gosh, Kim, it's fine. I don't even know what you charge me for this or that. I
mhm,
love those people, because
okay.
they trust you.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, and you said some powerful words there, like trust. They trust you. Respect. How this person who just hands you whatever money they want to hand you is
Mhm,
disrespectful.
mhm.
And the other person, wanting you to justify, it's like you say, when do you go to a steakhouse or a clothing store or any other store and say, well, you have to justify these prices to me before I'm going to pay, the gas station, it's like you either want the service or you don't want the service or the product or what have you, or you make a different choice. It's like, oh, well, I
Well,
like this name brand, but now I'm going to go to this store brand or something because it's a little more than I want to spend right now.
well, I think what we talked about in the class too with you was that, you know, we I felt like, and it's just the way it was ingrained in me from always. It was like, oh, you can't go more than this or more than that to raise your prices. But then you said something that I was like, holy cow. You're like, they're gonna walk out of your shop and they're gonna go buy the next, $10 bottle of, nail polish, or they're gonna go get their $6, their $6 Starbucks. But they just gave you a hard time about the $5, $10 or whatever, that they're only going to see you once every 5 or 6 weeks. But they're doing the other thing. And I was like, yeah, like she's right, and I put all this like stress and like worry into, I don't know, I guess I've just changed too, because I'm kind of like, this is what it is. This is who I am. This is the service I offer. I know I'm reliable, flexible. I work around people. I don't, not to the point where I'm on my days off and all that, but I mean, if somebody cancels because they have something going on, I never say, see you next month. I will make sure they get in. So I know that my service is good. I know I do the extra things. I know, I give them wine. I put hot compress on their shoulders. I give them all Christmas gifts. Like, I know that I'm worth what I'm asking. So I think I finally have gotten to the point where, like, if you don't see that worth, it's okay. You can go somewhere else. It's, and I don't even, I used to feel a little edgy about that. And now I'm like, I think you said it too. It's like, not every client is our client. And it's fine. You don't have to pay my price. It's not right for everybody. Maybe you truly can't afford it. I no longer take it so personal. I'm just like, it's okay. It's all right. I get it. That's the choice you make, but this is where I'm going.
Right.
So it's been a long journey. It wasn't just the 6 weeks,
Right.
the class. But that's why it was so good, because it's still working. It's still making me think.
Yeah, yeah. And I hope everybody that's watching is just like, yes, cheering for you. Because yes, that's the person that left the class. Like you say, it's continued to evolve since you left, but it's like that person stood up and said, no more.
Well, it was funny because when I did first start, and I said to my husband, I'm taking this class 6 weeks. He's like, good, okay. And then I'd go upstairs after the class and I'd say, first week, I'm only raising my prices this much. And he'd be like, he's a business guy, IBM, sales, blah, blah, blah. He'd be like, oh, that sounds good. And then I'm like, no, I said, she's leading me to go 20%. And he's like, oh, I don't know, that might, because he's thinking of it from his business head. So I
Mhm.
said, he's like, you think your customer's going to be right? And I said, look, I'm taking this course. I paid the money for it. I'm taking the time for it. I'm going to do what she says. Like, why am I not going to follow what she says and bother putting the time in? Like, I just felt like I just got a blind faith, say, she knows what she's talking about, and I got to go with it. So that was a big, huge help.
Yeah, yeah. And so how did the 20% work out?
It was fine. It was
Okay.
fine. I think I lost one regular client who, she was a color and foils, and she texted me and just said that they were retired or whatever, and now because her bill, even before the percentage went up, her bill with foils and color all on the same day and cut was like $300.
Mhm.
And she was saying to me one time, I realize this is how much I spend per year on my hair. Well, it's not my fault. Like, that's your choice. You're not going to live or die. Like, it's a you don't have to come get your hair done. You don't have to have all those services, but I'm
Mm.
not going to go down. So, she was nice, and she just said, I'm not going to continue to come in, and it's the price thing. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And it has been fine, you know.
Right.
So I feel like excited to do my numbers. I'm
Uh-huh.
excited to, at the end of the day, figure out what my, what did you call it? My Ferris wheel seat cost per
Uh-huh.
day.
Right.
Yeah, what my worth was for that, for that particular hour of time. And it makes me feel more energized and more, less resentful of my job.
Yeah.
Not even my job, it was resentful of people.
Mm-hmm.
Resentful of people that I felt like I couldn't stand up to, which was partly my fault.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because that's, kind of, I guess, if you will, like a definition of kind of in that victim role, where it's like the clients are doing this to me, when in reality, it's, as they say, when you have one finger pointing forward, you've got three pointing back. And so we've
Mhm.
always got to look at ourselves and see, what role am I playing in this? How am I just going along with what they're doing, which again is them running the show versus, this is your business, your livelihood, your life.
Right, and I think that was another thing learning from the course and everything was that we dictate how we want our business to be. We dictate who sits in our chair. We dictate who we draw to us. And like I said, I just wish this is something that I learned 40 years ago. It's like this should be like mandatory for everybody before you even get going because you just learn off of the old hairdressers that were before you. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So
Right.
the pricing, grouping everything together, like every that kind of thing, you just say, oh, I'll just carry on that way
Hmm.
until like unfortunately you get 40 years in and you're like, hey, it's gotta be better than this. And it's
Right.
just something, you don't know until you know, you
Right.
know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like I was gonna ask you, kind of what you tell a younger stylist now. It's like, so that kind of sounds like it. Anything else you want to add to it?
No, no, like I would say to take definitely learn to I would take a course, like your course, your class.
Hmm.
That to me would be mandatory, that kind of thing. And then getting into just education with other, color and all that and whatever. And I think too, um, I think it was more after it was when I raised my prices the first time of on my thing that I put in my station of raising my prices, I said, I will also not do these, I'm not going to continue to do these services.
Hmm.
All the services I didn't like to do. And when,
Right.
and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so great to put it out there and say, I'm no longer doing updos. I'm no longer doing little kids. I'm no longer, you know what I mean? I'm not doing perms just because I don't did so many in the 80s that I'm done with them. I wanted to really focus on color and cutting.
Right.
And when you had that part of the class, I was like, gosh, that's huge that we can choose what we like. We don't have to, we can be a specialist in what we
Mm.
do. And
Right.
I started thinking, I'm like, well, it's like how doctors are. You go to a doctor, they don't do everything. But for
Right.
some reason, when you're a hairdresser, I've had people I've worked for that expect you to do everything,
Hmm.
whether you
Right.
like it or not.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I think I would say to people like, learn about your craft and learn about the different things and then really choose what you really like out of it
Right.
and put your focus there, and it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's so good because yeah, we do get to choose, like you say in the beginning, explore everything, learn everything so that you have a good knowledge, a good base, good skills, in these
Mhm.
different areas. And it's not even that you can't do them, but what is it that will help you live in your sweet spot?
Mhm.
Like that's what
Exactly.
I call it is, just living 90% of your day at least is doing things that you really enjoy and love. There
Mhm.
may be some other stuff, you have to throw in there just because it is what it is, but the majority of your time should be spent doing the things that you really enjoy, and the things that you really enjoy will create, the creativity, the spark, the connection with people, the attraction, the client
Mhm.
attraction versus trying to get everything, trying to make things happen in a sense. It's like it attracts really good things to you, and like you say, the people that you want, and they want the services that you offer. So yeah, it's like that's a choice.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is, pretty much everything. So we don't get to play the victim. we
Yeah.
get to make some new choices. And in order to make the new choices, we have to change our mindset a lot of times.
Well, that's what was huge, learning with you was it was very, very empowering for me. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? In more than one way. And it just has bled over into like other parts of my life. Like I feel more confident with, I can't even explain, tell you like offhand what, but like just that kind of like you said, not being a victim and it's being done to me, a bit about saying, wait a minute, wait, I can control this. I
Hmm.
can choose to do this or not choose to do this or feel this way or have this person badger me or not, or, and that's been for me the way my mind works. That's been very freeing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, you seem very empowered. It's exciting to see you here. And it's like, I apologize to everyone watching. I know people are watching live and, will watch on the replay. It's like I've used a service that has allowed me to see your comments as they're coming in. And what I'm doing now is trying to see any comments that I can see on my phone while I'm doing this. So I know we missed some of them in real time, but I know that there was someone who asked, what's the best time to raise your prices? And so my recommendation for people in the beauty industry anyway, because it should follow the timeline of when you're busiest is really the best answer. So there's a couple answers. One that a lot of people think, oh, I'll wait till the first of the year and then I'll raise my prices. But a lot of times in our industry, the first of the year is one of the least busy times of the year. And so it can be one of the most challenging. So my recommendation is before the holidays, which is, one of the reasons I'm opening up the luxury business blueprint now so that you can get prepared so that you'll be all set to raise your prices, by the beginning to mid-November before the holiday busy season. And if you haven't raised your prices in more than 2 years, like Kim was referencing some friends that, haven't raised them in 11 years, it's like my longest student who hadn't raised her prices was 15 years, which, is just kind of like unbelievable. But if you haven't raised your prices in more than 2 years, it's like a lot of times, whatever time of year it is, the answer is now. It's like it's time to time to look at raising them, like kind of no matter what, because you're undercharging, you're throwing in discounts, you're throwing in services, and you're really leaving, for the average hairstylist, I would say about $25,000 a year on the table. And for many others, it's much more. Average is kind of in the middle. So there's some that are leaving a lot more and some that are leaving less. But it's, the present is a really good time, but before the holidays is my recommended time for, in general, for the beauty industry. So any thoughts or anything on it for you, Kim? Because I know you struggled through the course and made all the changes that you were going to make. And my suggestion is raising them yearly. And I think you're just now doing your
Yeah.
first change,
Yes.
and it's more than a year. So,
Yeah. It's actually almost 2 years to the date.
okay.
Um, because I felt like my color prices, I didn't feel like I had slowly increased them myself, like foils and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So I felt like when I did do the 20%, I'm happy where the prices are right now for my clientele. Doesn't mean they'll stay that way forever.
Mhm.
But I felt like I was underpriced and still underpriced for my haircuts. So
Mhm.
that's where I chose, okay, my haircuts are going to go up right now.
Okay.
So um I've kind of been doing like what you say, like, my customers, a lot of them will book out for the whole year, but I still have openings. So I've been kind of feeling that out, and like I said, because of the initial price raising after my class with you, I feel like still very happy with, I'm still like, the girls are coming to me in the shop and saying like, well, what do you think I should charge this customer for this? Because my prices, I think, are more realistic to the work. And I think they're seeing it. I mean, I just had a girl who's been a hairdresser for 35 years and she did a color and a foil the other day and she said, can I see you in the back room for a minute? So I was like, sure. So she's like, this is what I did on her, blah, 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 blah. What do you think is fair? So I think they're seeing that my prices are fair, but obviously they haven't made the jump.
Mhm.
So I don't really, I don't know. I don't have a set time of when I raise my prices. I probably don't, like you said, do it around the holidays,
Mhm.
in January, February, because that's a slow time anyway. I kind of have just been, my first raise with you was like September or whatever, and I just kind of, that's what I did this time, just,
Yeah. 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 And there's like, you're aware of your numbers. And that's one of the things, like your friends coming to you in the back room and saying, how much should I charge, is still that kind of picking a number out of the air.
right, right.
It's like it's not effective. You might get more for this particular client and service that you did, but it's like you don't have a whole strategy and you don't have a system where, each and every client is getting the same type of experience. Each and every client is getting the same type of pricing. And so it makes it where your business is just like this big teeter-totter, which is a
I
lot
think
for our industry.
I think that was another thing you had said too, because, ever since I've been a hairdresser, owning a shop, manning a shop, whatever, I would, even before, internet was around, call like 12 shops, how much are this, how much is that? And I'd make a whole graph, but then I would average it. And then you said, but that's not taking into consideration, like you don't know, you can be, you know, getting a person out of school for 2 years, and that's what you're basing your price off of. Like it doesn't, and I finally learned that. I'm like, yeah, all right, well, I can see what all these other places do, but have they been doing it for 43 years? Do I want to make the same amount that a girl that's been doing it for 5 years is? Like, so it's not basing it on my need. It's
Right.
basing it
Right.
on basically the safe thing to do.
Right. That's a good way to put it.
Because I always said, like, well, I'm not the highest, I'm not the lowest. If I'm in the middle, I'm okay. And then, oh, that was, see, and now I'm remembering, and you were saying it's okay to be the highest. It's
Yeah.
okay to be on the upper end. And I'm like, yeah, like, why am I always just settling for the middle? That was a
Mm,
huge thing.
that is huge.
It's like deja vu, it's coming back now.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the affirmations. It's like, but yeah, that definitely is huge.
Yeah. Yes.
Am I hanging out in the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely. Thank you for that. And then let's see. I see some Charlene, looks like, says she post it everywhere on social media and email marketing. And I guess for myself, I'm not a big proponent of posting on social media. It's like I think it's, not a social media, like that's more the marketing to attract people. And so price changes to me should be like within the business. And email and that type of thing is great, email, text. Um, and I'm trying to read through here really quickly, but I think that I have kind of covered all of the questions and things that come up or have come up. And so if you have more comments and everything as you're watching this on replay, feel free to drop them and I will, try to reply as best that I can. And it's like, I want to thank you, Kim, for, just taking the time out. I know like Zoom and all of this tech stuff isn't your favorite, but it seems like we made it through.
You got me through it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to just invite you. It's like, are there any last words? You shared some excellent gems with us, and we love hearing about your experience through, the beginning, what your life was like before, what it was like to go through the actual course and your after effects, which have been pretty
Mhm.
phenomenal. And so anything else that you'd like to share before we close out?
No, I just like, I think I've told you before, but I'm so happy that I connected with you and took your class. And, really, I tell everybody, my poor mother, like after the class, I'd be like, okay, this is, and I said, I know it's probably what you don't want to listen to. She goes, no, I like listening to what you learn. I was very excited about it all and had a lot mostly to do with you, and I just love that, the connection and that, like I said, I can text you with a little problem or that you reach out sometimes. It's meant a lot. It was worth every penny of the class. It was the best investment in myself and my career that I've taken. So I
Wow.
want to thank you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I received that, and I really appreciate you also. It's like you've had some big win days, and you've shared it with me, and it's like, oh, I did all this today, and it's like I had a
Yeah,
shorter day, and it was good, and sharing numbers and all of that, and so I appreciate you, just keeping me posted because those are the things that kind of keep me going and moving
yeah.
forward. because I do want to make a difference in the world and in the lives of, you know, particularly women in the beauty industry, even though I work with women in all types of industries, because these things that we're discussing, they are universal. You know,
Hmm.
like we walk around, you know, with so much of that. And so I am grateful for you and grateful that you took that leap to take the course and that it has been so life-changing for you, you know, not only in your career, but like you said, in your life. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
so yeah, it's like I want to invite anyone who may be interested in the luxury business blueprint to be able to reach out to me. It's like I will leave some information. It's like we have the doors open really through the end of this week. And there's a special offer for you as well. So I want to connect with you and I'll leave, you know, how you can connect with me as well, find out about the actual course through our Beauty Superstars Academy, and would love to see you be part of it. And so I'm actually offering some flash coaching, which gives you access to me kind of 15-minute increments, kind of unlimited, you know, but you have to do the work first and then we meet. And I will kind of throw that in so that you get more of that live experience. But just to let you know, it's like we've had people that have gone through the course, you know, without any support, you know, just with their schedules and what have you, and they have done exceptional with implementing everything. And it changes you as you go. So it's not like a course, like, oh, I took that. And you can hear from Kim, it's like, no, you'll be living it. It's part of
Mm.
who you are and who you become along the way. And actually, one of the members is like, I'm just probably going to take us over just a minute. But one of the members who took the course on her own joined us for some of your sessions, I think, Dana in Louisiana. And that was a really great exchange from you guys with helping you with a client you were particularly a little nervous about having that conversation. And she helped with just giving you that extra boost of confidence. It's like, yeah. And she was someone who took it, you know, just the course and just flew with it and came back and, you know, she got some more nuggets as she came back and implemented more things into her business. But yeah, so it's really cool to just see the success stories and hear them firsthand from you. So I appreciate it. Appreciate all of you guys who have joined us today and look forward to seeing you in the course. So I'll drop a link below and you can take a look at the course. If you have any questions, I'm happy to meet with you. You can get started. And we've also partnered with a firm, Klarna and Afterpay. So there are options to make it so that it's very affordable, because that's one of the things, another one of those mindset shifts. It's like, oh, I can't afford it. And so I don't want that to be your barrier or your excuse for not getting started and creating the type of lifestyle that you want, the type of career that you want, the type of income that you want. So thank you so much. My name is Miki Wright. I'm a pricing strategist and business funding expert, and look forward to seeing you soon with beautysuperstars.com. And thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you.
Soon, everyone, keep reaching for the stars.